Is this A plus resumes?
Yes, it is.
Well, gosh, I'm glad I got a hold of you. I've been trying. I don't know for how long. I lost my job during the COVID,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
and I started trying to do my own resume, and I just don't think I'm getting it right. But I would you mind just me telling you a few things I've done and see if maybe you could give me a little help on it.
I'll be more than glad to.
I pulled up an old resume I had, and I noticed it, at least this particular one I had, extended into 4 pages.
Wow.
Is that good anymore?
Well, it just depends. I know sometimes clients will have a lot of education and a lot of work history. It just depends on if it would apply to what you're currently going for. We always thought that things should either be 2 pages, but usually not more than that. But sometimes we can go beyond 2 pages. I wouldn't go 1 page if your work experience necessitates more than that, because you would be cheating yourself. But I'll be glad to look at it. If you want to send your resume to me, I'll be glad to look at it and give you my opinion on the length.
Okay, well that'd be great. Should I go out and get a new professional photograph to include?
As a rule, we don't include photographs. Some industries, like real estate, they usually want the picture on the resume. But for other industries, it's really not acceptable. I don't know whether you would say appropriate, but look at it this way. If you put your picture on the resume and they want somebody that does not look like you, or maybe younger or maybe older, you might be defeating your purpose even before you get in front of somebody. Generally speaking, we don't put a picture on a resume.
Well, that's certainly different than I'm used to. I I
Well,
haven't put out a resume for quite a few years.
the thing that they can always find out what you look like, because on LinkedIn, most people do have a picture. So, but for the most part, we do not include a picture as a rule.
Do I need to update my references?
That would be fine, except you should not include them with your resume. A lot of people will put references available upon request. That's not acceptable anymore. If you want to include references, I would say put them on an extra page. It's not included when you send the resume in, but you can take your references with you to an interview. And if a prospective employer asks you for them, then you offer them, but you don't offer them before you're asked for them, as a rule.
Okay, well, how long has it been that way?
For quite a long time. I've been doing resumes for 20 years plus, and we have not put references available upon request at the bottom of the resume for at least 20 years. As I said, you could have a list of your references, but it's not included if you send your resume in online, or even if you give it to someone.
I see. I see. Well, that makes perfect sense. I was also wondering. It used to be a trick in the past where you'd put your resume on some sort of off-color paper.
Uh, let's put it this way. If you're going to send your resume through an email or on a company's website, I would just white paper. What difference would it make? The most important thing is what the content. Now, sometimes when we write a resume, we can use different colors, but for all intents and purposes, I would keep it as simple as possible. Unless you are working with a professional, they'll be able to advise you.
I see. Should I put on there? I mentioned early on that I lost my job because of COVID. I
Mhm.
think that would be a good thing to put on there. Is that right?
Not necessarily. I think I might include that in a cover letter, but not necessarily. We don't put reasons for leaving on a resume, generally speaking, but you could include that in a cover letter, and that would explain why you're currently looking.
How would I go about crunching this down? I mentioned earlier that I had 4 pages. Is what kinds of things should I leave out?
Okay, it depends how long it is. 4 pages might mean that you're going back too far. I won't know until I look at the resume. Usually we go back 10 or 15 years. However, there may be some work experience that you had 25 years ago. You can include that in a resume, but I would be a little careful with the dates. Again, it depends.
Well, I used to, this probably is totally inappropriate now, but I used to go way back to my high school.
No, that's not necessary. And then another thing too, if you don't have a college degree, I would not put high school on there, but I would substitute professional development in place of education. Because high school, most people do graduate from high school, and I don't think that's necessarily appropriate in today's business environment.
Oh, I see now. Now, this probably sounds bad, but I used to put a little bit of extra fluff in the resume in terms of, maybe stretching things a little bit.
Never lie, never stretch. I will not write a resume for someone that asks me to put things in there that maybe might not be true or stretch the truth a little bit. Because let's face it, they're going to find out. And honesty is always the best policy.
Yeah, I agree. Do I need to write basically a separate resume for each target audience? Because I used to have a very specific objective on each resume.
Okay, now they don't use objectives anymore on resumes. What we use now are summary statements. Now, sometimes a person wants to apply for several different positions. Now, if you have a job title at the top of the resume, the body of the resume should support that job title. However, you might be going for different positions, but they should be related. Now, when I write a resume, I put the job title at the top, and then I write the resume. But let's say they want to do something different. As long as it's related, that's okay. You can change the job title, but just make sure that everything supports that job title, or else you're just wasting your time and wasting the time of a prospective employer.
I see. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Well, I was just wondering, obviously I need the help of a professional because I've been totally out of the loop on writing resumes for so long. Could you just speak a little bit to how you price resumes and how long it takes and what process you go through to accomplish it?
Well, if you are interested in working with me, I will send you a step-by-step process so that you'll understand how I work. Now, how long does it take? It depends how fast you get the information back to me. I've had clients that have given me information and I send them back the questions that I need answered, and sometimes I don't hear from them for 3 or 4 months. That doesn't make sense. So how long does it take? It depends on how fast you get the information back to me. And if I have all the information I need, I can write your resume within a week to 10 days. But I've got to have the information from you in order to write it.
Well, now, do you send out a draft or how does that process work?
Okay. When I write a resume, I will send you the first draft. It comes with directions and it will say, please make a print of this resume. Go through it several times, make your changes in the margins, put it down, go over it again. Usually you will not read everything that you need to see in the first reading. It takes several times to go through a resume and make your corrections. Then you call me, we go through it line by line, make the corrections. You will get a second draft to make sure that it's the way it should be. And sometimes it will go back and forth a third time. Nothing will go out of my office unless you think it's perfect and I think it's perfect. So it does take some time, but we go through several steps before we end up with the final product.
Now, do you always keep a copy on file if I need it in the future and maybe a few little tweaks here and there? How does that work?
Okay. I have a database with clients that go back to 2009. Once we work together, I will keep your resume in my database 5 years down the road, even 2 years down the road. If you need to make a change, or let's say you've lost it, all you have to do is call me and I'll shoot it out to you. Now, and then another thing too, once we work together, I'm your coach for life. 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, if you have a question or concern, I will be available to you for your entire working career. How does that sound? Pretty good deal.
That sounds really good. I'm just totally lost in this whole process. So it's pretty obvious to me that I need some professional help, and you sound like someone that could really help me in this process. So I appreciate your time very much, and I will be in touch.
Okay, please send me your resume. Let me ask you this. What is your email address? I will send you a message. All you have to do is reply back as a Word attachment with your resume. I'll be glad to talk to you, give you my thoughts, and we can go from there. How does that sound?
That sounds really good. Absolutely. My email address is candidate at candidate.com.
Okay, all right. I will send you an email. Watch out for it. Shoot me back your resume, and I'll be glad to discuss it with you. And have a wonderful day. I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Take care now. Bye-bye.